Chapter 931. I wonder if I can ask for an identity of someone in the immortal sect. Jiang Hao looked at the chicken thigh carefully. He hadn't seen the chicken, so he couldn't tell what breed it was. But if it had appeared here, it must have been raised by someone. He hoped that the person would not come looking for him. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. It was better to set the spirit beast and Xiao Li free so that he didn't need to deal with things like these. He needed to let them know not to mention his name if someone came looking for the chicken. He was finally going to advance. It had been more than 10 years. He returned to his room and began to sort out the news he had received today. What happened at the Great Thousand God sect really surprised him. There was no beef between him and the Great Thousand God sect. However, Feng Hua belonged to that sect, and the stone tablet was also created by someone from there. In addition, there was the matter of creating immortals. They were planning to kill people in the Dragon Cave to harness their cultivation. That might easily create a huge commotion. If he got too involved, it would affect him and the sect. As for how long it would last, he did not know. He had to seize the time to become stronger. Jiang Hao noticed that Xiao Li and the beast had finished their food, but they still seemed to be hungry. When the moon rose, Xiao Li went home. The spirit beast was sleeping in front of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. He seemed to be dreaming of a flying chicken. Late at night, Jiang Hao listened to the chirping of the insects around him, and his mind became calm. He had already prepared everything and was just waiting for the gathering to begin. He didn't know what information he could get from the gathering, but he just needed to maintain a good impression at the gathering. Perhaps in a few years, he would not have to be so cautious all the time. After becoming powerful, he would not have to worry about many things. However, it was not that simple. He had created a very mysterious person of himself. The recent events emphasized it even further. He had borrowed Hong Yue's power many times to accomplish many things. If he wanted to maintain the mysterious and powerful image he had built of himself, he needed to reach Hong Yue's cultivation realm. At midnight, Jiang Hao entered the stone tablet. He wanted to see what these people were doing and whether it would affect him. Many things were happening overseas, so he had to pay attention to them. However, nothing had happened in the north so far. Maybe they just didn't know about the events in the north because no one was from the north in the gathering. There was no way of knowing if something had indeed happened there. After entering the public space, Jiang Hao took his usual seat. The others also arrived one after another. There were 5 people in total. Senior Dan Yuan sat in the front as usual. After greeting Senior Dan Yuan, they sat cross-legged on the floor. Dan Yuan was the first to ask about their cultivation. No one spoke. Then, let's talk about the matter at hand. Dan Yuan looked at Gui. Friend Gui, are you ready? My people should arrive any moment. I'm almost ready, said Gui. I can head to the Heavenly Note sect once I get the Sage's pages. I just don't know if Old Man Corpse C will have any effect on me. There had been no news from the Heavenly Note sect lately. Gui did not know what Old Man Corpse C had done, and how that would affect the rest of them. Old Man Corpse C has already entered the Lawless Tower, Jiang Hao said. He was surprised that Senior Dan Yuan didn't have a task this time. They directly went ahead with the trading phase. He is in the Lawless Tower? Gui was surprised. He went there willingly. Jiang Hao didn't explain. It would have been extremely difficult to capture him. But Old Man Corpse C had chosen to visit the blood pool and dug his own grave. Jiu Jin was not mentally stable. It was surprising that Old Man Corpse C had survived after that attack. The Sage's pages are still with Jing? Dan Yuan asked. He didn't take Old Man Corpse C's matter to heart. He had done his best anyway. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. What price do I have to pay to see them? Dan Yuan asked. Jiang Hao knew that it would be his people who would come for the pages. I haven't thought of it yet. I'll leave it for later. Dan Yuan nodded. Then, he looked at Gui. I'll give it to him when I meet him. What is the content of the pages? Liu asked curiously. Gui looked at Xing. It's strange, said Xing helplessly. I saw the words, heaven rewards the diligent, or something along that line, said Gui. And then? Zhong was curious. I forgot. Gui was puzzled. Jiang Hao was surprised. He felt the same way. It was as if he had forgotten everything he had read in the sage's pages. According to Hong Yuye, the pages had been taken away. Everyone was surprised. Before, they weren't that curious about the pages, but now, they couldn't remember anything. However, they didn't stall for long and continued the trade. Friend Jing, do you have any other plans for them? Zhong asked. She was referring to the two people. Are they already at the academy? Jiang Hao asked. Zhong nodded. She's working, and the child is studying in a school. But the injury to their spirit is great. It'll take a lot of time and medicine to cure them. Jiang Hao nodded. That's all from my side. There was no need for him to do more. They would work hard on their own. He just needed to give them a chance. If they didn't work hard even after being given the chance, then why bother with something more? Then, I'll consider the deal as fulfilled, said Zhong. She looked at him. She seemed to be waiting for confirmation. All right. Jiang Hao nodded. She had done well. This matter was bigger than him just cleaning those graves for her. Friend Jing, the things you wanted have been prepared, Liu said. With the help of Senior Dan Yuan, Jiang Hao received the information on the stone slab. He memorized it. The gathering went on. Xing looked at Liu. I need an overseas identity. It's best if it's from the Heavenly Spirit tribe. When do you want it? Liu asked. In the next 2 years, Xing said. Everyone knew that Xing was going overseas to do something important. Liu thought for a moment and nodded. After that, he asked Liu what he needed in exchange. Liu asked for an unorthodox spell technique of the Bright Moon sect. It was called the Light of Fireflies. It was a spell that could accumulate strength. Once they started accumulating, they couldn't be used. Only those who wanted to break through would need to accumulate so much strength. The moment he used it, all the accumulated strength would run out instantly. It was almost a waste to use it in that way. Jiang Hao was a little tempted by the prospect of getting a new identity so easily. He could have asked for a new identity when he went to the West. Ji Yujin's influence had been just too great. He had the identity of Smiling San Sheng to use overseas. Perhaps he could use the new identity when he went to the East or North someday. I wonder if I can ask for the identity of someone in the Immortal sect. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 932, What is inside the Dragon Cave? Jiang Hao didn't make any further deals. However, he had even more things to do. It seemed that the more people he got involved with, the more trouble followed. He might end up provoking more people too. After meeting Ji Yujin, he encountered a lot more trouble than necessary. Lu Mantian of the West, for one. Then, there was Ji Changsheng, who was now the backer of the longevity race overseas. They were all people he needed to be cautious of. As he traded with the people in the gathering, he felt like he was getting closer to whoever was behind the stone tablets. He was a little worried. If he found that person one day, would Hong Yuye still keep him around? He would be of no more value to her. He needed to advance as soon as possible. The middle stage of the Immortal Ascension platform didn't give him a sense of security. His realm was considered powerful only in the Heavenly Note sect. In other places in the south, he would just be ordinary. It was even more common in the east, west, and the north. There were far more powerful people there. He no longer felt smug when he thought about that. He needed to be humble and work hard to climb the ladder. He had to look far and keep going. Only then would he become powerful. I want news about the Saint Bandits. If you have a way to contact them, please tell me, said Gui. The others nodded. Saint Bandits were the most mysterious and difficult to contact. They hid in the dark and waited for an opportunity to strike. Jiang Hao could have helped, but the one who was a part of Saint Bandits had left the Lawless Tower. I want to find a dragon that I can communicate with. I want to ask about the dragon race, said Zhong. Chaos Stone Island does have a dragon, but I'm not sure if you can communicate with them, Liu said. Everyone knew that there were dragons on Chaos Stone Island. You can't, Dan Yuan said. Everyone was surprised. It seemed that Senior Dan Yuan had been there. Jiang Hao was a little disappointed. He couldn't communicate with that dragon either. He also wanted to find a dragon and ask them some things. But there were none like that. Xiao Li did not mention anything about dragons. The one with the Shenyuan word had yet to appear. He hadn't even met Liu Xingchen lately. From the looks of it, communicating with the dragon clan was more difficult than expected. That was about the end of the trading session. After that, they talked about recent events. Has anything happened overseas recently? Xing asked. Other than the matter of the 12 heavenly kings, nothing strange has happened. There were some rumors related to the dragon clan, but they seem baseless, said Liu. It seems that there are many things related to dragons overseas, said Gui. Jiang Hao was silent for a moment. Something big might happen overseas soon. Everyone was puzzled. Jiang Hao didn't keep them in suspense. I heard that a dragon cave is going to appear overseas. Only those with primordial spirits will be able to enter the cave. Dragon cave? Gui was curious. What's in the dragon cave? She had been to the dragon nest before, so she felt that there was a similar treasure in the dragon cave. Jiang Hao raised his eyebrows at Gui. There's a trap in the dragon cave. Everyone was shocked. What did he mean? What trap was there in the dragon cave? This news is from the Great Thousand God Sect, said Jiang Hao. The Great Thousand God Sect. Liu frowned. Primordial Spirit Realm. The Great Thousand God Sect wants the primordial spirits of people overseas. They want to set the trap in the dragon cave. Many experts can detect if there are dragons inside or not, said Gui. Zhong calmly said, the Great Thousand God Sect must have thought of that as well. If the dragon cave is really a trap, there's a high chance that the dragon cave is the real deal. I don't think it's true, Xing said. I think we'll get some real benefits from it. Besides, the Great Thousand God Sect can't kill us all. Most powerful people could obtain the benefits, while others just became stepping stones for the strong. The Great Thousand God Sect is planning something big. They might even enter first and then pretend to have suffered heavy losses. Jiang Hao was surprised. These people thought about every possibility. Gui liked to ask many questions. She never shied away from asking important questions. Many times, she was needed to solve issues that others couldn't. The gathering would not be useful without her. She always asked questions and got an answer. What does the Great Thousand God Sect want? Gui asked. Everyone knew about the Great Thousand God Sect, but they didn't know what they were up to. Jiang Hao didn't respond. The matter of creating immortals was of great importance, so it was better not to mention it for the time being. Seeing that no one responded, Gui talked about other matters. I received news that the Heavenly Note Sect and the Heavenly Saint Sect are cooperating. It's very strange. The Heavenly Saint Sect wants to help attack Azure Mountain, while the Heavenly Note Sect will help to suppress the Heavenly Spirit Tribe in exchange. Jiang Hao was baffled. What benefits were there in doing so? The Grand Earth Emperor has brought quite a lot of benefits to the Black Heaven Sect. Perhaps in a few years, the Black Heaven Sect will rise to great heights. It's possible that it can become a great sect, said Xing. Many things have been happening in the West. It's possible that the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment is there, and she is getting closer to the one with great fortune, said Zhong. I heard that there's another senior in the backyard of the Astronomical Academy. His name is Jin. Jiang Hao was speechless. Zhong felt that it had something to do with him. The immortal seed of the fallen immortal clan is about to bloom. They are preparing near the sea, Dan Yuan said. It might not happen for many years. Jiang Hao frowned. If the fallen immortal clan returned, they would rise over other races. Xing lowered his head in thought. At the Black Heaven Sect, Shu Bai walked out of a room in the VIP area. He sighed and looked at the sky. Looks like I have to speed up the process. At that moment, pages appeared in his hand. They were the sage's pages. Unlike Gui, he had used the sect's treasure to pry into the sage's pages. He did not see the words on it at all. It gave him a feeling of emptiness and nothingness. It was difficult to describe. He had clearly grasped it, but it had disappeared right after. It seemed he had gotten his hands on the sage's pages too late. In the end, he decided to give them away. What does the heavens reward those who work hard? Shubai didn't think too much about it. He wasn't there to find out the secret behind the sage's pages, he just wanted to read what was in it. He looked in the direction of the heavenly note sect and laughed at himself. I'm finally leaving, but I feel so calm. That thing is giving me a lot of stress. It is no wonder people there are always so bitter. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 933. I thought you were a 300-year-old woman. When Jiang Hao woke up, the sky was covered with dark clouds. It was going to rain. It rarely rained in the heavenly note sect. Spiritual energy gathered here, and normal weather did not affect people coming in. It did not even snow in winter. Even if it did, it was only a little. Jiang Hao sat on a chair on the balcony and looked up at the sky. The wind was howling. Without hesitation, he took out a book and began to write the information he had gotten about the Shangguan family. Compared to what he had learned from the Lawless Tower, Liu's information was more comprehensive. It had everything about their origin, the famous people in their clan, their current leaders, and their names. There were names of people who were supposed to be their allies. There was also information about the difficulties faced by the Shangguan family. He even provided an identity of the Shangguan family. Jiang Hao hadn't expected that. Other than that, there wasn't much news from the gathering. The rise of the Black Heaven sect was almost inevitable, and everyone anticipated it. In addition, Xing was going overseas to look for the Heavenly Spirit Tribe's treasure to suppress the fallen immortal clan and become an immortal race again. Jiang Hao would help with such matters. The Heavenly Spirit Tribe, the Heavenly Saint sect, and the fallen immortal clan were not ordinary clans. Their rise to power would shake the world. Once their influence was too great, it would be easy to start a fight. In addition, the fallen immortal clan might come looking for him or Xiao Li. He couldn't handle it, so he tried not to get involved as much as possible. Next was the Dragon Clan. The dragons that were currently known were unable to communicate with humans. In fact, there was quite a lot of information about the dragons. Unfortunately, all of it was useless. Xiao Li was the most communicative dragon he had ever seen. Unfortunately, she had lost her memory. He had already told them about the Great Thousand God sect, but he didn't know what Liu would do. They couldn't let the Great Thousand God sect succeed. It would not benefit the Heavenly Tower in any way. He thought about it briefly. Jiang Hao felt that he should pay more attention to Gui and see what she would do next. The West wasn't worth paying attention to. At most, he would only be able to find out what realm the one with heavenly fragrance Dao flower had reached. He finally understood how far Chu Chuan was from reaching her level. A moment later, he finished writing the Shangguan family's information in his notebook. Although the Shangguan family had been overseas for a long time, they were not from anywhere overseas. They came from a place called the Eastern Pole Island. Their clan had no choice but to move away. It was also at that time that the curse began to appear. Jiang Hao was surprised when he read what he had written. The Shangguan family's origin was a little strange. Furthermore, they were unable to integrate with the locals even after going overseas. Perhaps it was the curse that made them reject the outside world. The Shangguan family controls the edge of the sea realm. Although they have spirit veins, they are relatively ordinary. They have no interest in the major powers of the world, and no one fights with them. The ones who want to fight for the veins aren't their enemies. The strength of the Shangguan family wasn't bad. However, their experts slowly died away. They used to have immortals but not anymore. Their clan's experts were slowly diminishing in number. The curse not only prevented them from growing but also made it difficult for them to recover from their injuries. Although they had tried to nurture death warriors, it was a pity that when their cultivation surpassed them, the backlash was immense. Jiang Hao felt that the Shangguan family was really tough. It was a powerful clan that had suffered a disaster. I wonder if Jiyu Changsheng is related to them. Jiang Hao was curious. Or rather, he was curious if Jiyu Changsheng was also a member of the Longevity clan. Jiang Hao realized that the Shangguan family had thought of a way. However, no matter what they did, they could not escape the curse. They didn't even know what the curse really was. They fell into despair. The clan started attacking their surroundings but ended up retreating. However, just as everyone felt that their clan was about to be exterminated, there was a clan member who had figured out a way to the path of immortality. He had given hope to his clan that there was still a possibility for them to reach the immortal realm. They still had hope. He had died, but the clan stopped destroying themselves. They began to think of solutions for their problem and waited. Jiang Hao closed the book before daybreak. The Shangguan family was rather ordinary overseas. Although everyone knew about them, no one was intimidated by them. The information Liu gave him had the scope of their influence and details about their leaders. Shangguan Qingsu was the most outstanding member of the Shangguan family. She had entered the Great Thousand God sect with her own strength to seek new hope. She had 2 immortal avatars and didn't have a good relationship with the clan. According to the information he had, the reason the Shangguan clan was quiet and approachable was that they were helpless. However, they had pride in their hearts and were definitely not a race that lived under others. Apart from that, Jiang Hao found out something else. The elites of the Shangguan family were at rock bottom. That was enough for Jiang Hao. As long as they could trade normally, it was fine. All right. Looking at the sunrise, Jiang Hao sighed. I can try to get in touch with Shangguan Qingsu now. Early the next morning, Baizhu received the sage's pages. She took a look at it but forgot the contents right after. In fact, she had secretly shown it to Qiao Yi, but Qiao Yi couldn't understand it at all. She couldn't even read it. Princess, where are we going now? Qiao Yi asked. She wanted to make a trip back to Imperial City. After all, what they had encountered on this trip had exceeded her expectations. The 2 princes were unaware that their little sister had been through so much. I'll meet up with a senior before heading to the Heavenly Note sect. Baizhu forced a smile. This was a big matter, and it concerned her life. She had no choice but to go. Otherwise, she might not be able to negotiate with the powerful person behind her. That would be bad. In the afternoon, Baizhu walked along a small village road. Some villagers were farming nearby. Auntie Qiao, I'm still so young. Why do you think my life is so hard? You are more than 300 years old, said Qiao Yi. That's right. I'm indeed not a child anymore. I have to carry my own burden. I'm 18. Baizhu nodded. Qiao Yi looked helpless and could only nod. 18, said a voice from behind. Are you that young? I thought you were a 300-year-old woman. Baizhu and Qiao Yi were shocked. They turned to see a young man landing on the ground. Baizhu couldn't tell what his cultivation realm was, but he was definitely not an ordinary cultivator. Do I know you, senior? Baizhu asked. I'm Kendo. Are you going to the Heavenly Note sect, little girl? We might be going the same way. He smiled. Baizhu was stunned. The person Senior Dan Yuan had found for her had arrived. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 934, Deciphering the Sage's Pages. Kendo walked over to her. He was a person whose cultivation realm could not be seen and whose background could not be determined. Baizhu knew that this person was extraordinary. Senior, are you from the east? She asked. From the north, actually. Kendo smiled. Has the north been okay lately? Baizhu asked. They had almost no news about the north. She was very curious about whether there was anything major happening in the north. The north is quite safe, but the end of all things is quite active there. There are also Saint Bandits, said Kendo. Baizhu was a little surprised. The Saint Bandits are in the north? Yes, they are in hiding. It's not easy to find them. When I passed by a mountain range, I found them. I don't know what they were doing there, said Kendo. They might be planning to steal something from the end of all things. You know, the Saint Bandits don't care who you are when they steal something of yours. They even steal from immortal sects. They are very good at tricking people. Those who encounter bottlenecks in their cultivation get tricked easily. It has to be said that they are very powerful. Their method is very impressive but not as powerful as the rumors say. Baiju nodded. What is the end of all things doing in the north? They are there to break the seal on a forbidden item, said Kendo. Forbidden item? Baiju was curious. Kendo shrugged. Don't look at me. I don't know what it is. There are so many things in this world, and I don't know about them. Baiju was a little disappointed. If she had known about it before, she could have found out about it before at the gathering. Where are the sage's pages? Kendo asked. Baiju handed him the pages. He looked at it eagerly. He gazed at the pages in his hand. He could not help but sigh. Amazing. I didn't expect it to be so amazing. Baiju was shocked. She wanted to know what he saw in them. After a while, Kendo returned the pages to Baiju. Senior, what did you see? Baiju asked. You won't understand even if I tell you. You're only 18 years old. You're still so young, Kendo said with a smile. Senior, please tell me. I can help you with anything in exchange, said Baiju. Really? Kendo smiled and asked, Little girl, do you have spirit stones? Yes. Baiju nodded. She was a little surprised that spirit stones were all he needed. Kendo extended a finger. Give me this much, and I'll tell you. 1,000,000. No problem, Baiju said decisively. Kendo was speechless. He forced out a smile. Ha ha ha. A hero among women. He only wanted 100,000 spirit stones. Actually, he did not lack spirit stones. He was just trying to tease her. However, he didn't expect her to offer him 1,000,000 without batting an eye. People who had just advanced were usually very poor. Senior, tell me. Baiju took out her storage treasure. Kendo had to admit that she was really impressive. When he was as young as her, he only had one sword with him. I won't talk about the secret behind the sage's pages. The pages are eccentric. Some people manage a glimpse, while others just speculate their content. I'm not very good at this. The sage's pages record certain things and not others. However, these look different. Kendo flicked a page gently, and many images appeared around him. What is the meaning of this? Baiju was shocked. She had never seen such a scene before. It was the image of the sky, the earth, the lakes, the mountains, the rivers, and the sea. However, these images were either cracked or empty. Some parts were missing. What do you think? Kendo asked. Does this mean part of the sage's pages have been taken away? Is that why parts of the images are missing? Baiju asked. Is it possible that the content was broken by interference? Maybe someone doesn't want others to see the full contents of the pages, said Xiao Yi. Baiju nodded. That was possible. Kendo shook his head. Your knowledge is too limited. You've heard of the Saint Bandits, right? One of them proposed a theory a long time ago that the total racial talent of a group doesn't change. He managed to break through that limitation. That proved that it is not impossible to do something extraordinary, just extremely difficult. Senior, what do you mean? Baiju frowned. She didn't quite understand. Kendo smiled. You have to learn to think about the problem differently. Xiao Yi thought about it, but she couldn't come up with a way. First, you need to understand one thing, Kendo said seriously. What is it, Senior? Baiju asked. Existence is based on reason, said Kendo. Existence is based on reason? Baiju asked. She still didn't understand. Here comes the main thing. He pointed at the 3 images. One was cracked, another one was missing a part, and the other one was empty. Do you see those 3 images? Don't think they are missing a part or cracked or wrong somehow. If that's what the pages show you, then that is what it wants you to know. Baiju and Xiao Yi watched. Have you seen the words on it? Kendo asked. Heaven rewards those who work diligently, Baiju said. Yes, said Kendo. A shattered image appeared in front of Kendo. That cracked image is telling you that there is a crack in your understanding of things. The one with the missing parts means that it's deprived of something. The empty is simply undetectable. At that moment, the images disappeared, and a page fell into Kendo's hands. That is what the sage's pages are trying to tell us. There is something in this world or someone. The heavenly Tao rewards those who work hard to push boundaries but deprive others of their existence. Their existence cannot be detected. Baizhu felt the impact of the explanation. It was mind-blowing. She had never thought along those lines before. This person was terrifying. But she couldn't understand why she had forgotten what she had seen. She asked him about that. I don't know. Kendo shrugged. It's just my interpretation. It might not represent the whole truth. In the afternoon, Jiang Hao took care of the spirit herbs in the spirit herb garden. The superior grade spirit herb hadn't sprouted yet. They might take a few more months. There might be a lot of blue bubbles. If he did well, he could get more spirit herb seeds in the future. It won't be long before I can advance. He didn't know if his real cultivation realm would advance first, or if his displayed cultivation realm would rise first. It all depended on junior brother Han's return. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 935. The Real owner came for compensation. At the end of April, Jiang Hao saw Xiao Li and the spirit beast sitting outside the courtyard. They seemed to be waiting for another chicken to appear. They had already prepared the firewood and had even asked for seasonings from the cafeteria. The spirit beast had said that the last chicken had been too burnt and wanted to do it right this time. Xiao Li believed in the beast entirely. She just waited quietly. Jiang Hao didn't pay any attention to them. He only hoped that the owner of the chicken wouldn't come looking for him. Otherwise, he might have to pay them some spirit stones as compensation. It was rather troublesome. Although he had enough spirit stones, he couldn't bear to let these kids squander it. He wanted to save it for spirit herbs. Early in the morning, Jiang Hao saw that the spirit beast and Xiao Li were waiting for him. He didn't ask them to go to the spirit herb garden with him. When he arrived, he saw senior sister Ju Chan there. He hadn't seen her for a long time. Senior sister Ju was not much different from before, but her cultivation realm had improved a lot. She was not far from reaching the middle stage of the golden core realm. After that, her advancement might be very smooth. The fish might soon leap over the dragon gate. If senior sister Ju didn't waste her talents, she would become a legend in the sect. We meet again, junior brother Jiang, Ju Chan said with a smile. Senior sister Ju, are you here for me? Jiang Hao asked curiously. Yes, I am, Ju Chan said. Where's your junior sister and your spirit pet? Jiang Hao shook his head helplessly. They might be busy. I found your spirit pet to be quite fascinating, she said. Ju Chan took out a small transparent box. This is for you, junior brother Jiang. You might already know what's going on. I have had to deliver these to you a few times already. Jiang Hao was surprised. Finally, another piece from the set. He wondered what would happen if he gathered all the pieces of the 9 heavens armor. Senior sister Ju Chan left after handing him the box. She thanked him for taking care of her junior sister while on the sect mission. Jiang Hao told her that it was his duty. As for the new piece of the 9 heavens battle armor, there was no need to appraise it right away. He would go back and change into it at night. After successfully fusing it with the other pieces, he could appraise it to know more about the set. Meanwhile, Xiao Li and the spirit beast were still waiting outside in the courtyard. They waited from morning to afternoon. Beast, do you think a chicken will really appear? Xiao Li asked. My friends in the underworld respect me. They won't lie to me. The chicken will definitely come. I'll continue to wait then, said Xiao Li while eating a white date. The two of them were filled with enthusiasm. In the evening, the spirit beast finally heard something. Xiao Li was excited. Then, they looked into the distance and saw a chicken flying over. It was golden. It looked the same as the last chicken that had flown here. Beast, your friends from the underworld are great, said Xiao Li happily. Let's go. We shouldn't disappoint our friends in the underworld, said the spirit beast. In an instant, the two of them rushed over. The chicken seemed to be frightened when it saw them and tried running away. The spirit beast sped up. Just as it was about to reach the chicken, an aura surged and sent the spirit beast flying backward. Xiao Li was shocked. She was on her guard. She wanted to see who was so bold to attack the beast. Then, she saw a young girl appear. She had 2 ponytails and was wearing the sect's uniform. A senior sister? Xiao Li shrank back. She did not dare act recklessly. Are you the ones who stole my chicken? Yi Yaqing looked at the spirit beast and Xiao Li were all friends, so it's only right for us to help each other. I, Lord Beast, was hungry, and his friends sent him this food. Technically, we weren't stealing, said the spirit beast. Yi Yaqing looked at the spirit beast in disbelief. The one beside you. Is she your master? She asked curiously. She doesn't seem as shameless as you. We are friends, Xiao Li said. The owner of the beast is my senior brother. Who is your senior brother? Yi Yaqing asked. Senior brother is just. Senior brother, Xiao Li said. When is your senior brother coming back? Yi Yaqing nodded slightly. Soon, Xiao Li said. Then, let's wait for him together. Yi Yaqing led them to the courtyard and had them sit. They waited. Did it taste good? She suddenly asked. It smelled especially good, Xiao Li said. Only you guys ate it? Yi Yaqing asked. Senior brother ate a little too, Xiao Li said. Yi Yaqing nodded. Jiang Hao left the spiritual herb garden and went straight home. It wasn't too late to change into the 9 heavens battle armor. However, just as he reached the courtyard, he saw someone else with Xiao Li and the spirit beast in his courtyard. Yi Yaqing. Jiang Hao was surprised. She was the 5th-ranked top disciple of the sect. She was still at the late stage of the soul ascension realm and should be advancing soon. Why is senior sister Yi here? Jiang Hao was puzzled. He saw the golden chicken nearby and understood why she was here. He sighed. As he feared, the owner of the chicken had arrived. He had no choice but to face the issue. Senior sister Yi was usually very approachable. Senior sister Yi, greetings, said Jiang Hao. She looked at him. Junior brother Jiang? Yi Yaqing smiled. It's nice to meet you again. Jiang Hao was a little surprised. He hadn't expected senior sister Yi to still remember him. I sent my chicken out for a stroll, and your junior and your pet seem to have eaten it, she said. They said you ate it too. Jiang Hao was speechless. He glanced at Xiao Li. He knew who had thrown him under the bus. This was bad. It would be very dangerous if they kept using his name in the future. Do you admit it, junior brother Jiang? Yi Yaqing asked. I apologize. Can I compensate you somehow? Jiang Hao asked. Yi Yaqing was silent as if she was deep in thought. On the other side of 100 Bones Forest, Lian Qin ran towards Bai Yes house anxiously. Senior brother Bai, something bad has happened. He had been taking a break and looking up at the sky. He opened his eyes and looked at the person who had rushed over. What's wrong? Senior sister Yi went to look for junior brother Jiang. It seems like she has a beef to settle with him, said Lian Qin. What? How? Bai Yi frowned. Senior sister Yi is rarely on bad terms with others. Why would she suddenly become enemies with Jiang Hao? What actually happened? They might have already met, said Lian Qin. Let's go. We have to meet senior sister Yi, said Bai Yi. Lian Qin didn't dare hesitate and pushed Bai Yes' wheelchair outside. They made their way to Jiang Hao's place in a hurry. If they were late, the two people might end up becoming enemies. In a short while, they arrived at the Cliff of Broken Hearts and headed straight for Jiang Hao's house. When they arrived, the two people seemed to have finished their conversation. At that moment, Jiang Hao looked somewhat solemn. Bai Yi frowned. Damn it. He was worried. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 936. Since you beg me, I will help you. Jiang Hao felt a little helpless in the face of senior sister Yes' request. The request made him quite concerned. It was quite a simple matter. She had raised 2 golden chickens for her advancement and was missing one. She needed to delay her advancement to the next realm. However, she felt responsible for allowing her chicken to stroll around in Jiang Hao's area. They were both at fault. So, she asked Jiang Hao to help her raise 2 chickens again. She was willing to pay spirit stones to help with it. Jiang Hao felt uneasy because it wasn't easy to raise spirit beasts. He could buy 2 golden chickens instead. They were rare, but they weren't impossible to find. Yi Yaqing shook her head. You can't do that. The chickens are rare. Mine were raised using a special method. The meat is different. Jiang Hao was speechless. He suspected that this senior sister only wanted to eat a good meal before she advanced. It was indeed different. Xiao Li nodded. You still dare to speak? Jiang Hao sighed. He frowned and thought about how to make Yi Yaqing happy without making things difficult for himself. However, at that moment, someone approached them. The two turned around in surprise. It was Bai Yi. He was in a wheelchair. He actually came out of his branch. Jiang Hao was truly surprised. He had never met Bai Yi face to face. His aura was still stable, but he had not fully recovered. His cultivation realm was only at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. He looked worried. Bai Yi. Yi Yaqing was surprised. Senior brother Bai, senior sister Lian, greetings. Jiang Hao bowed. It was also Bai Yi's first time facing Jiang Hao in person. How long had it been since he reached the late stage of the Golden Core realm? Everyone paid attention to Han Ming at the Cliff of Broken Hearts, but they ignored Jiang Hao. Perhaps it was because of the Blood Wish path that people did not care so much about it. The Blood Wish path was impressive, but it was not a great path. It might be discontinued soon. Before meeting him, Bai Yi hadn't been too sure. But seeing Jiang Hao in person made it even more certain that this person wasn't ordinary. Of course, he already knew that because of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower in Jiang Hao's courtyard. Junior brother Jiang, you're too polite. I am just old and weak now. I'm not as good as you anymore, said Bai Yi. He was very humble. What are you doing here? Yi Yaqing tilted her head. I heard that you came over, senior sister. Is something wrong? Bai Yi asked. Junior brother Jiang's pet ate something of mine, so I'm here to settle the matter with him, Yi Yaqing said honestly. What is it? Bai Yi asked. Yi Yaqing told him about the golden chickens. That must be very difficult for junior brother Jiang. He is good at raising spirit herbs, but raising spirit beasts might not be his thing, said Bai Yi. Senior sister, I can help you with that if you want. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. That's true. If you have any spirit herbs that you need to plant, I can do it very well. You know how to grow top-grade spirit herbs? Yi Yaqing frowned. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. I have some seeds, but I can only give you a few spirit stones, Yi Yaqing said. No problem, Jiang Hao said. He didn't even tell her that he needed to see them first. He just agreed. Then, will you raise 6 for me? I'll give you some spirit stones, Yi Yaqing asked Bai Yi. Bai Yi heaved a sigh of relief. It was fine as long as there was no problem between them. Otherwise, the consequences would have been dire. After everything was settled, Jiang Hao watched them leave. At least, I didn't cause any big trouble. It was a blessing in disguise. Bai Yi is helping me. What does he want? Jiang Hao hesitated. He felt that he could relax after this. Perhaps the other party had completely let go of his grievances. When he advanced to the Immortal Ascension platform, he might let go of it completely. That way, he would not have to look for him any longer. He looked at Xiao Li and the spirit beast. At that moment, Xiao Li was holding the spirit beast. Her eyes were wide open. Senior brother Jiang, was it delicious for you too? Jiang Hao was speechless. I think senior sister Yi was quite reasonable, said Xiao Li. Really? Jiang Hao said. It's just, Xiao Li thought for a moment. She wasn't that bad. Jiang Hao didn't understand. Xiao Li must have some talent for telling how people were. She could even smell Hong Yuye's scent on him. If something flies over the courtyard, you can't eat it ever again. Okay. Jiang Hao said. The two of them nodded dejectedly. On the other side, Bai Yi followed behind Yi Yaqing. Senior sister, You shouldn't have argued with junior brother Jiang. We didn't argue, Yi Yaqing said. Still, we really didn't. It's better to stay away from him. Yi Yaqing stopped in her tracks and turned to look at Bai Yi. Are you afraid of him? No. Bai Yi shook his head. You're afraid of him, so you don't dare to come into contact with him. You've been living in your own lane. Yi Yaqing looked at him. How did you feel after meeting him today? Was he as dangerous as you imagined? Bai Yi looked at Yi Yaqing. He was confused. You are a cunning, scheming person. Since you want to show kindness, you have to be more direct. Otherwise, some people will think that you might be planning something else. I don't know why you are so scared of him, but junior brother Jiang is harmless. Do you understand? After saying that, Yi Yaqing walked away. Wait a little longer. Hell surpass you. Then, you can be bolder. Today was just an example. She walked away and left them stumped. What did she mean? Did she do everything today on purpose? Or was it because it was an accident, and Jiang Hao just played along? What if he hadn't come? That night, outside the Cliff of Broken Hearts, a woman sat cross-legged in her room, and a formation flickered around her. At that moment, the veins on her face were bulging, and the pain made her grimace. The curse on her forehead spread all over her body. Her cultivation was ineffective in front of the curse. She was Shangguan Qingsu. She had been at the Cliff of Broken Hearts for quite some time, but there was still no news about Smiling San Sheng. She was being tortured by the curse even more. She did not know why the curse was especially terrifying at this cliff. She could not hold on any longer. If someone could help her with the curse, she was willing to give up everything. Help me, Shangguan Qingsu gritted her teeth. She didn't expect anyone to help her. But it was a habit she couldn't get rid of. A loud and cheerful voice reached her ears. All right. Since you're begging me, I'll help you. A hand pressed on Shangguan Qingsu's head. In an instant, the pain began to fade, and the curse receded like a wave. She was terrified and relieved. Shangguan Qingsu was stunned. It was like a dream. What had happened? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 937. From now on, you'll acknowledge me as your master. In the shabby and narrow room, the window was open. At that moment, a scholar in white stood by the window. Moonlight fell on him. He was like the brightest existence in the darkness. In the room, a young lady looked ahead with a blank face. Moments before, she had suffered from the curse that she was born with. That pain had accompanied her for hundreds of years. The pain hadn't lessened at all, and her body didn't get used to it at all. She thought that she would die in pain and had instinctively asked for help, but she did not expect it to work. It seems like it's not painful anymore. The scholar opened the folding fan in his hand and smiled. The words unparalleled in the world appeared on the folding fan. Shangguan Qingsu finally recovered from her shock. Smiling San Sheng, she said. That's me. Is this why you're looking for me? Smiling San Sheng nodded and smiled. Shangguan Qingsu never expected to find Smiling San Sheng in the Heavenly Note sect. Why was he here? She didn't understand, but she didn't think too much about it. She didn't care if this was the same person she had met before. As long as he could help with the curse, it would be fine. At the end of the day, she was only looking for someone who could help with the curse. Can you really suppress the curse? Can you remove it? Shangguan Qingsu asked. Smiling San Sheng smiled but didn't say anything. Only then did Shangguan Qingsu come to her senses. She stood up and bowed. Thank you for your help, senior. If you need anything, please tell me. You have good manners, Jiang Hao said with a smile. When he planned to get in touch with Shangguan Qingsu, he had already thought of the most suitable way to contact her. It wasn't enough to just use the identity of Smiling San Sheng. What he needed was to intimidate her. Even if his cultivation realm was higher than hers, he had to do something with the curse to show her that he wasn't someone to mess with. Do you know who I am? Shangguan Qingsu asked. Do you think you hid it that well? Jiang Hao asked. She was indeed good at hiding, But nothing was hidden from smiling San Sheng. Shangguan Qingsu was shocked. She felt that he was lying to her. She hesitated. I did, but you still found me. Shangguan Qingsu. Jiang Hao looked at her in amusement. If you hadn't felt the benefits of my help, why would you be here? Shangguan Qingsu was surprised. She did not understand how she had been discovered. Senior, please forgive me. I only wanted to protect myself. She lowered her head and apologized. Jiang Hao didn't mind. What do you want from me? I would like to ask for your help to remove the curse, Shangguan Qingsu said. I'm willing to pay any price. That is impossible, at least for now. Jiang Hao shook his head. You don't even know what the curse on your body is. Do you know, senior? Shangguan Qingsu asked. Jiang Hao smiled without saying anything. He left her guessing. There was no need for him to reveal it. If Jiyu Changsheng was also from their clan, it would be a big problem. After all, there would always be people who worshipped the strongest. If there was any trouble, it would be bad. He planned to suppress Jiyu Changsheng. Some of them were eager for Jiyu Changsheng to make a comeback. He couldn't tell them that Jiyu Changsheng had a problem. There were always people who thought differently. The people from the end of all things might release Jiyu Changsheng to the world if they knew about this. The world would be plunged into chaos. They wanted everything to end. If there's no way to remove it, can it at least be suppressed? Shangguan Qingsu asked. Her real goal was that. Even after so many years, the Shangguan clan had not been able to think of any way to suppress it. They did not even dare to think about removing it. It's not that I can't, but, Jiang Hao looked at Shangguan Qingsu. Are you planning to deal with it alone or for your entire clan? What? Shangguan Qingsu was stunned. Is there really a way to deal with the curse of the entire clan? Don't ask me. Just tell me whether you want it to be solved for just one person or the entire clan, said Jiang Hao. At that moment, Shangguan Qingsu fell silent. She thought for a long time. If the solution is for the entire clan, what kind of price do we have to pay? She felt that this person had come for the entire clan. The price? Jiang Hao fanned his hand and thought for a long time. Maybe wait for my instructions from now on. That, Shangguan Qingsu frowned. That is not something I can decide. I need to go back and discuss it with the clan. Sure. I'm not in a hurry. Go back and ask. Jiang Hao nodded. He didn't care if the Shangguan clan would bow to him or not. He had asked for a big price anyway. They might feel like he was trying to enslave the Shangguan clan. There was no need to say anything more. It had to be thought about long and hard. It wasn't an easy decision to make. Then, how should I contact you? Shangguan Qingsu asked. Jiang Hao handed a ring to her. When you reach the west, place it in a safe place. When you're done, you'll know how to contact me. Shangguan Qingsu was a little puzzled as she took the golden ring. Then, Jiang Hao taught her how to activate it. This way, he could go directly to the Shangguan clan. However, there was a problem. He was missing a ring. He had placed one in the corpse realm, another one in the courtyard, another one for Xiao Li, the spirit beast, another one in the west, one with Hong Yuya, and the last one with Shangguan Qingsu. He had used 7 of them. There was only one ring left. He had to think of a way to get Xiao Li and the spirit beast back. Can I ask you a question? Shangguan Qingsu said. Go on, Jiang Hao said. If the Shangguan clan refuses, can I continue to work with you? Shangguan Qingsu asked. Really? Jiang Hao smiled playfully. Then, he disappeared on the spot. Good luck. Shangguan Qingsu was a little surprised as she watched him leave. She had no idea how he had disappeared. He hadn't asked about Feng Hua even once. He had asked about her before. There's another strange thing. I can't see through his cultivation realm. It wasn't like that before. Shangguan Qingsu frowned. She did not think that he could surpass her in such a short period of time. There was no one who could advance so quickly. It shouldn't be possible. She repeated it to herself to convince herself. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 938, The strongest Jiyu Jinjiang How heaved a sigh of relief when he returned to his courtyard. It was done. He had found a way to leave a ring in the west. He hoped Shangguan Qingsu could leave the ring at the right location. After all, it was not easy to go out. It would take a long time to chase after her. If she could activate the ring at the location of the clan, he could instantly go there. However, she might not activate the golden ring. It was also possible that she might just abandon the ring. In short, it was a risky move. Jiang Hao sat down and began to study the 7 forms of the heavenly blade. He could not even understand the 6th and 7th forms, let alone learn them. He had learned the 5th form, but its power depended on the person. Some people could easily use it to slash others, but sometimes, it wouldn't be able to harm someone with a lower cultivation realm than him. It was a double-edged sword. Jiang Hao didn't think about anything else. He had done everything he could. He would wait patiently for things to happen on their own. The most recent issue was Gui's matter. Gui and the others might be arriving soon. The next day, Baizhu followed Kendo to the front of the Heavenly Note sect. They all felt rather emotional. Kendo was nostalgic for this place, while Baizhu lamented her fate. This sect is not ordinary. Although it doesn't feel like anything extraordinary, it has been through a lot and is still standing tall. Why didn't anyone come here to establish an immortal sect back then? Kendo smiled. The immortal sect might not be able to avoid it in time, Baizhu said. Kendo laughed out loud. Although his cultivation realm was high, he rarely cared about the outside world. He had only recently set foot in the south. He had heard some rumors about it. The immortal sect could not withstand these things. Especially when one's cultivation realm was high, there would always be people who were bold enough to do something. In the end, the entire sect would be destroyed. Senior, have you been to the Heavenly Note sect before? Isn't it more convenient for us to find the longevity cursed tree? Baizhu asked. Kendo smiled. You're the one with the spirit stones. I'll do whatever you say. Senior, do you think anyone in the south is your match? She asked. At a glance, no, Kendo said. In reality? Baizhu asked. Hard to say. Kendo thought for a moment. There are some amazing things in the south. There's a chance that powerful experts might be present. There might be hidden powerful people. However, in the 4 regions, there aren't many who can compete with me. Who is the strongest person in this world? Baizhu asked. She didn't know, but she had to ask. I don't know. Kendo shook his head. I don't think anyone is that powerful. Geniuses are everywhere, but it's hard to say who's the strongest. Is it like this in every era? Baizhu was slightly disappointed. Of course not. The era of the human emperor is undoubtedly the most extraordinary. No one could compete with him. There were countless experts in that era, but they were still suppressed by him. He walked to the front of the Heavenly Note sect's formation. At that moment, someone came to ask for her identity, and Baizhu settled it immediately. Then, the 3 of them walked inside. What about other times? Baizhu asked. Kendo thought for a moment. There was also someone who was as powerful as the human emperor. Although it was just the beginning, he was powerful. Who was it? Baizhu's eyes lit up. He was a strong cultivator from the Astronomical Academy, Jiyu Jin, said Kendo. He was very powerful. He walked from the west to the east. He passed through the Bright Moon sect, the Clear Sky School, and then to the Mountain Sea Sword sect in the north. He defeated the expert from the Mountain Sea Sword sect. It was said that the flames burned the sky and melted the sword god's sword. It was an extraordinary war. Is Jiyu Jin that strong? Baizhu asked. She recalled how respectful the noodle shop chef had been to that young man who was supposed to be Jiyu Jin. He was so close to becoming a legend. What happened after that? Baizhu asked excitedly. Where is he now? I don't know. Kendo shrugged. I heard that he went missing. Anyway, after leaving the north, there was no more news of him. Some people from the Mountain Sea Sword sect say that he was injured by the sword god and died in the dark. Really? Baizhu said in disbelief. If it were true, wouldn't the sword god be the most powerful person in existence? The rumor must be fake. I've met the sword god before. He just shook his head and denied everything, said Kendo. Senior, you're really amazing. You even met the sword god? Baizhu asked in admiration. At that moment, they arrived at the mines. Baizhu had already arranged everything, so they could go in directly. She just needed to get someone to check. The Heavenly Note sect was all right. They could go in as long as they had enough spirit stones. After the inspection, Baizhu followed the people from the mines all the way inside. When are you planning to leave? Kendo asked. The sooner, the better. However, she thought about it for a moment. Senior, do you want to stay here longer? I can inform them about it when the time comes. It's not that I want to stay as such. It's better for us both to stay. The strong won't compromise easily. So, it's better not to rush, said Kendo. I don't think that I'm that strong. I don't have an advantage against the longevity cursed tree. It's impossible for Jiyu Changsheng to agree to communicate with us immediately. It might take some time. However, you don't have to worry. Even if I'm no match for him, I have plenty of time to deal with him. Is it that extreme? Baizhu found it hard to believe. After a long time, Kendo first saw a huge tree. There was a black aura on the tree, and the surrounding space was somewhat distorted. Beside the tree was a black river that led to some unknown place. This is the longevity cursed tree? It's a little strange. I didn't see what it was connected to, said Kendo. The moment Baizhu saw the tree, she felt a sense of familiarity. For a moment, she felt that her cultivation had improved. She would have improved by leaps and bounds if she cultivated under that tree. This was a good place. Qiao Yi did not feel anything. She only felt that the tree was so big that it was a wonder. Let's go in. Then, we'll see if we can communicate. If we can't, we'll have to fight, said Kendo. Baizhu nodded. She felt a little nervous. However, she could understand why the other party was looking for her. They were somewhat similar. If the person wanted to replace her, they could do so conveniently. Senior, do you think you can handle it? Asked Baizhu. I'm still young. Why do I have to encounter something so terrifying? Kendo looked at Baizhu. Has anyone ever told you that you ask a lot of questions? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 939, Willing to teach the Blood Wish path. Around early May, Jiang Hao looked at the high-grade spirit herbs section and thought about it. It would germinate in 3 months. This was because he had let it grow normally. Otherwise, he could have made it grow by next month. He wanted to make it less obvious. The main thing was that he had plenty of time. As for Yi Yaking's spirit herbs, she hadn't sent them over yet. He didn't know when she would do so. He liked that senior sister. She wasn't easily offended and wasn't aggressive. He wondered how the golden chicken was related to her advancement. Jiang Hao sighed and decided to rest. Shangguan Qingsu has already left. I wonder how Gui is doing. Sitting under the shabby house, Jiang Hao looked into the distance. Shangguan Qingsu left the sect the second day after he left. She had left on a mission. Some of her seniors felt that it was a pity. After all, she was very likable. All of a sudden, a sword hum sounded from afar. It was vast. Jiang Hao stood up instinctively. He was on his guard. The 9 Heavens battle armor began to activate as if it could erupt at any moment. The new piece had fused perfectly with the rest of the set. The 9 Heavens battle armor was now different from before. It could fuse with his spirit energy. One of the 9 Heavens battle armor, pants. The abilities of the 6 pieces of the set have been improved. All aspects have reached the Immortal Ascension platform. It can automatically communicate with other treasures and accept the user's spirit energy, which will grant the set more power and help it break through its limits. The 9 Heavens battle armor was different. However, Jiang Hao didn't pay much attention to it. He didn't know the details since he hadn't used it yet. He was somewhat at a loss as he faced the sudden sword's intent. The first thing he thought was that the Heavenly Note sect had been attacked by a powerful expert. The branch masters even came out of their seclusion. Dozens of powerful people were heading in the direction of the mine. The source of the sword's intent was over there. Jiang Hao frowned. The mines, after the sword's intent appeared, there was no follow-up. After waiting for a long time, Jiang Hao didn't sense anything else. There were no signs of battle. Maybe that has something to do with Gui. Jiang Hao thought to himself. If someone attacked, the sword's intent would be enough to cut down the Heavenly Note sect. He felt that Senior Dan Yuan was a little terrifying. He had called a random person, and he turned out to be very powerful. Meanwhile, Baiji was on her guard. She couldn't be at ease. Others behind her were the same. He had never felt such an aura since the establishment of the Heavenly Note sect. It was as if the sect was about to be destroyed. They still didn't know what was going on below. Fellow disciples, don't worry. I wasn't able to control myself for a moment just now and was caught off guard. That's why I leaked my sword's intent. We've already suppressed the one we were here for, said Kendo. Does Sect Master Baiji still remember me? Senior Kendo? Baiji was surprised. Yes, that's me. This time, I am here with this lady. She seems to have an appointment. You'll know if you check it, said Kendo. Baiji and the others looked at each other. It was indeed Kendo, and the other two were Baizhu and Xiao Yi. There was an appointment made in advance. Who knew that the commotion would be so big? The people who had come to check looked terrified. With so many sect experts surrounding him, Baizhu did not even dare to breathe. Baiji ignored them. However, knowing that they were here for that tree made her think a lot. Senior, can you tell me before you come the next time so that I can welcome you properly? Kendo smiled. All right. I thought I could come and go quietly this time. I didn't expect to be tricked. When I'm done here, I'll apologize to everyone properly. No, I didn't mean it that way. If you are done with the work here, Senior, let us welcome you to the sect, said Baiji. The other person's strength was too great, so they didn't want to act recklessly. At that moment, Ku Wu Chang hesitated. Although Baiji and the others were curious about what was going on inside, they did not have the intention to go down. The terrifying aura was a testament to what horrifying thing was below. It was better to stay away. Around mid-April, there was no more power flowing out of the mine. Rumors went around. It was said that there was a battle between experts over there. They didn't know what the real situation was. There were also rumors that the sect had made a major discovery and had already sealed off the mines. Some even said that a secret realm had appeared and that the people of Law Enforcement Hall had already entered it. That sword's intent that was emitted was from that mystic realm. Jiang Hao smiled. When Cheng Cho told him about it, he only nodded and did not say anything. After that, he explained cultivation issues to Cheng Cho. Cheng Cho had a rough understanding of the situation. In a few years, he would be able to try to advance to the late stage of the Golden Core realm. He was about 50 years old and would advance once every 10 years. He should be able to successfully form his core before the age of 80. Jiang Hao had been explaining the cultivation method to him. Many people listened. Some people were very hesitant because everyone knew that this was the blood wish path. However, as some disciples advanced, many people could not resist the temptation and came near to listen to him. Jiang Hao didn't care about them. He could listen to them if they liked, and it didn't matter if they didn't. He wanted to create a place where people could ask questions. He also wanted them to feel that he was following the blood wish path. As some people advanced, they voluntarily left some blood behind. Many people followed suit. Seeing this, Jiang Hao smiled. This way, everyone would surely think that he practiced the blood wish path. Cheng Cho was a little confused, but Jiang Hao told him not to worry or think too much about it. Senior sister Lian Qin arrived just as he finished explaining. She brought 100 high-grade spirit herbs. Senior sister Yi asked me to give these to you, junior brother, Fairy Lian Qin said. Jiang Hao appraised it. He found out that it would take a year for the seeds to germinate, and it would cost a lot of spirit stones. Under normal circumstances, it would take 2 years. Senior sister Lian Qin gave him the spirit stones. She even gave him more than necessary. All right. I'll grow the seeds as soon as possible, Jiang Hao said politely. There's no need to rush. These spirit herbs need to be nurtured for a long time, and their survival rate isn't that high. Just take your time, and do it properly, Lian Qin said. Jiang Hao nodded. After planting the spirit herbs, he went back. Along the way, he sensed the stone tablet vibrate. There was a gathering tonight. So fast. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 940. I have a way to suppress Jiyu Changsheng. The gathering was held sooner than usual. Nothing had happened yet. But if nothing had happened, the gathering wouldn't have been held so soon. When Jiang Hao entered the stone tablet, he found Gui rather dejected. She must have encountered something. Senior Dan Yuan didn't ask about cultivation either. In other words, it was not a regular gathering. This gathering is at the request of friend Gui, Dan Yuan smiled. Are you still in the Heavenly Note sect, Gui? Yes. Gui nodded. You've already started dealing with Jiyu Changsheng? Xing asked. Yes. Gui nodded again. Didn't go well? Liu asked. It didn't go as well as I thought, said Gui. The longevity cursed tree is stronger than expected. Not only that, but the entity is also tougher than expected. I want to know how to make Jiyu Changsheng compromise. According to the senior with me, the fight between them could last for decades. Even so, the other party doesn't seem to be willing to compromise. We need to think of another way. Even he doesn't have an advantage over them. Dan Yuan was surprised. I have an advantage, but I can't really suppress that existence. It's impossible to make him compromise. He's even unwilling to talk, Gui said. The Heavenly Note sect was a dangerous place, and she was wasting her time there. Kendo told her to be mentally prepared and that she might have to spend 10 to 20 years there. If it really didn't work, she would have to think of another way or simply give up. They might not even be able to solve the issue at all. Jiyu Changsheng isn't ordinary. It's almost impossible to make him compromise if we can't suppress him. I went to ask someone. According to that senior, even if Jiyu Changsheng is still alive, he's in a desperate situation. He has nothing to lose, said Zhong. Friend Jing, do you have any ideas? Gui asked. Jing had discovered Jiyu Changsheng, and he had a lot of relevant information regarding that. Perhaps he could help figure out a way. Jiang Hao lowered his head in thought. He could try asking Jiyu Jin. Jiyu Jin might have ideas. However, Jiyu Jin had suggested a way to block Jiyu Changsheng's escape route. That was to suppress the 100 Nights curse. That method needed more time. He had to wait for Shangguan Qingsu to return overseas and discuss it with her clan. He also needed to arrange a suitable formation to be able to suppress the curse. The situation was complicated. It might get delayed due to too many factors. There is a way, he said after a while. The others looked at him. Really? Gui was pleasantly surprised. She didn't expect that there would be a solution. Xing and the others were also very curious. I need to go overseas. I'm not sure about how long it might take. It might take 2 to 3 years even, Jiang Hao said in a low voice. 2 or 3 years. Gui frowned. Do you need help going overseas? Liu asked. Jiang Hao shook his head. This time, he did not need any help. After all, it was the Shangguan clan's business. Overseas. 2 or 3 years. Xing looked at Jing. Friend Jing, are you interested in finding a divine item? A divine item? Jiang Hao was a little surprised. Is it the divine item that the Heavenly Spirit tribe used to suppress the fallen immortal clan? Yes. Xing was not surprised that Jing knew about it. Jiang Hao was silent for a moment. He didn't want to cause any more trouble. However, he could indeed look for the item. Don't worry about anything else. When the time comes, we can go together to get it. Even if we don't get that item, I can still give you a decent treasure, Xing said. I need to see if he'll get the time, Jiang Hao said. The Heavenly Spirit tribe? Gui asked. Friend Xing, you're going too? I have a way to enter their place, and I want you to help me get something in exchange. Xing nodded and agreed to Gui's request. That might be of some help to him. Oh right, let me remind you that the rumors about the dragon cave are out, Liu said softly. It will probably be fully opened in 2 years. Everyone was surprised. In other words, there might be too many things happening overseas in the coming years. Gui heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the chaos still happened without her presence. She wasn't unlucky. The gathering ended. Jiang Hao opened his eyes and sighed. Xing's task is a little difficult. Jiang Hao had asked Jiyu Jin about this matter. Although he was interested in the divine item, he wouldn't get involved if it was too dangerous. As for when he would go overseas, it would depend on Shangguan Qingsu's arrival. It might take another year. If I want to participate in the matters of the world, I need a strong cultivation realm. My current cultivation realm is definitely not enough. It was not safe to go to the Heavenly Spirit tribe in the middle stage of the Immortal Ascension platform. If it was just overseas, his cultivation was enough to protect him. Looks like I have to advance as soon as possible. While he was thinking, Jiang Hao looked at his interface. Name, Jiang Hao, age, 40, cultivation realm, middle stage of the Immortal Ascension platform, cultivation method, Heavenly Sound 100 revolutions, Hongmeng Heart Sutra, divine ability, 9 revolutions death substitution, unique, daily appraisal, clear and pure heart, reappearance of hidden spirit, divine might, revival of withered tree, heavenly cauldron, indestructible Vaja, lifeblood, 55-100, can be cultivated, cultivation, 55-100, can be cultivated, divine ability, 2/3, cannot be obtained, it has reached only half. Even if the spirit herbs germinate fully, it'll not be enough. It'll take at least the end of the year for me to collect enough. At that time, he would be in the late stage of the Immortal Ascension platform. Jiang Hao shook his head. It seemed that it was impossible for him to advance beyond the Immortal Ascension platform in just a few years. He could only try his best. After thinking for a moment, he decided to make senior sister Duanma's spirit herbs sprout in July. He could only speed it up by a month, or there might be more damage. His further advancement would depend on whether Duanmu would be willing to give him more spirit herbs or not. Then, he would have to increase his combat strength as much as possible. The only way was to digest the divine soul of the Holy Master. However, he would need 700,000 spirit stones to do that completely. He didn't have enough. Fortunately, the immortal peach tree was about to appear. He might get a purple bubble out of it. He would have another divine ability. Perhaps he could go to the dragon cave after that. Baizhu walked to the big tree. Kendo sat cross-legged and floated in the sky. The cursed tree had already begun to distort, and the surrounding space was constantly shattering and reforming. The sword's intent covered everything. The space distortion and the sword's intent clashed and recoiled. Neither was willing to back down. Qiao Yi felt the immense pressure of such power. He tried to cultivate. The surrounding was filled with so much power that it was ideal for cultivation. Senior Dan Yuan has an idea, Baizhu said. What is it? Kendo asked. He seemed relaxed. This stalemate would last for decades. So, he might as well take it slow. It might take a while, but someone might make a move against the person, said Baizhu. How? I didn't ask. Don't you usually ask a lot of questions? Why didn't you ask that? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 941. Senior sister is shocked. Baizhu felt that everything was so unfair. She always seemed to attract trouble. As the number one genius of the royal family, her journey should have been smoother. As expected, she needed to go back and pay her respects to her ancestors. However, the most important thing now was how to get past Jiyu Changsheng. When can the person you mentioned make a move? Kendo asked. I'm not sure. It might take 2 to 3 years, Baizhu said. She didn't know that for certain either. However, if Jing said it might take 2 or 3 years, Then that was how long it would take. She needed to wait. Kendo nodded. It's not that long. It'll be fine. I can even go out for a walk occasionally. The competition here was not as intense as he had thought. In the beginning, he had been caught off guard, so it had seemed dangerous. But they had an idea of what they were facing, so there was no need to fight to the death. Baizhu nodded. She had no choice but to wait. She hoped that the next 2 to 3 years would pass quickly. Early the next morning, Mr. Dao walked into the courtyard. Tang Ya was surprised. Mr. Dao, why are you out so early? Mr. Dao smiled and sat down. Is Jushin back? He'll be back soon, Tang Ya said. She had been sensing her surroundings. She was training herself to be more vigilant. She liked this kind of job. It was simple and direct. She hated mind games. Mr. Dao sat at the table and began to make some tea. Why do all scholars like to drink tea so much? Tang Ya asked. It refines your senses. Mr. Dao smiled. I don't feel it. Besides, I see others drinking tea too. Well, artsy people drink tea. Then, do you consider yourself artsy, Mr. Dao? For me, it's just a habit. Jushin will be back soon, said Tang Ya. Lately, has been asking about the dragon cave. That matter sounds big, and so many people are already interested in it. Many people plan to go and investigate. They hope to obtain the true dragon's inheritance. Mr. Dao did not say anything and continued to make tea. After a while, Jushin arrived. Mr. Dao. He bowed and greeted him. Any news? Mr. Dao asked. I went to Heavenly King Teoma's place to ask around, so I'm a little late, said Jushin. There's not much information about the dragon cave. However, he was sure that it would open in 2 or 3 years. There is a high chance that it would be guarded by a true dragon. Not only that, he also said that there might be a true dragon's inheritance in that place and news of the dragon clan. The things inside might exceed whatever was in the dragon nest. We need to go. That's all. Do you know the source of the news? Mr. Dao poured the tea slowly. We found out that someone saw a dragon's illusion and learned about Dragon Cave from it, Jushin said. There's another message. It might be related to the entrance of the Dragon Cave. It'll be here soon. Mr. Dao nodded. Here. Have some tea while you wait. At noon, Jushin received the news. We already have information about the entrance. We can prepare. This entrance has some special requirements, said Jushin excitedly. Before he could continue further, Mr. Dao stopped him. Jushin was somewhat puzzled. Let me guess. This dragon cave requires one to be at least at the primordial spirit realm to enter, said Mr. Dao. Jushin was stunned. Tang Ya sat up and looked at him curiously. She wanted to know if Mr. Tao's guess was wrong. Jushin, is that true? Say something. She nudged him. Yes. That's correct. Jushin nodded. He thought about it. There was no way Mr. Dao would have known it in advance. It might mean that there was some problem with the information or with the dragon cave itself. How did you know, Mr. Dao? Tang Ya asked. Is there a problem with this place? Jushin asked. Mr. Dao sipped his tea. There are quite a number of people who are on good terms with us, right? Yes. Jushin nodded. Many of them have the information and resources we need, right? Yes. Then, we'll use the reputation of the Heavenly Tower to spread the news. Jushin's heart skipped a beat when he heard that. What is it? Tang Ya didn't understand, but she listened attentively. These people always had some riddles to unfold. She hated riddles and mind games, but there was nothing she could do. Just subtly spread the rumor that the source of the news about the Dragon Cave came from the Great Thousand God sect. Let it be known that they already knew the location of the Dragon Cave and deliberately released it now. It'll make people think twice about entering the cave, said Mr. Dao. Jushin narrowed his eyes. He did not question Mr. Dao. When the news of the Dragon Cave spread, Mr. Dao had told him to discreetly find out more about it. He seemed to know what he was doing. What do you mean? Tang Ya asked. What do you think is in the Dragon Cave? Mr. Dao asked. A true dragon's inheritance. It's a trap set by the Great Thousand God sect. Is it because of the Great Thousand Spirit technique of the Great Thousand God sect? Is that why they want primordial spirits? You've improved. Mr. Dao smiled. This news is important. Won't the Great Thousand God sect do something drastic? Zhu Shun was a little worried. Don't worry. If the Heavenly Tower can't even face this, it won't be able to stand overseas with power, said Mr. Dao. Zhu Shun did not think too much about it. After the gathering ended, Jiang Hao didn't do anything else and just went on with his daily routine. If he helped suppress Jiyu Changsheng, he would be helping Gui. If he succeeded, she would owe him a huge favor. He still had to cash in on the previous favor. That would make it 2 favors in total. 1 big and 1 small. Xing still owed him a reward. If he went to the Heavenly Spirit tribe to help him, that would be 2 rewards. Time passed quickly, and a month and a half was gone in the blink of an eye. Everything went smoothly. Around early July, Jiang Hao arrived at the Spirit Herbal Garden. When he entered, he saw numerous blue bubbles. As he walked in, the bubbles began to surge and fly to him. Strength, cultivation, lifeblood, spirit sword, the bubbles continued to merge with him. There seemed to be more bubbles than before. After a while, Jiang Hao absorbed all the bubbles. There were 31 bubbles in total. That was 5 more than before. It was indeed a lot. However, he was still a few points away from advancing. It was much harder to advance after reaching the realm he was in. Opening an immortal path would be even more difficult. He didn't know when he would reach beyond the immortal ascension platform. Jiang Hao sighed and began to tend to the spirit herbs. After making sure that there were no problems, he sent Cheng Chou to look for senior sister Duanmu Yang. In just a short while, she arrived with Cheng Chou. She saw Jiang Hao. Junior brother Jiang, did you manage to make it sprout? Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. How is that possible? She couldn't believe it. It would have taken her at least 10 months to make it germinate. Only 5 months had passed after she gave him the seeds. She felt that this junior was playing her. If not, the spirit herbs might have been tampered with to forcefully make it sprout. Please check and see for yourself, senior sister. Jiang Hao stepped aside. She checked them. How is this possible? She was beyond shocked. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 942, Demoness. Every word makes sense. In the shabby pavilion of the Spirit Herbal Garden, Duanmu Yang was in a daze. She looked at Jiang Hao. How did you do it, junior brother Jiang? Jiang Hao lowered his head and didn't answer. Sorry. I'm in a hurry, so I'll check the rest. Duanmu Yang did not ask him any more questions. She just checked the spirit herbs. At first, she didn't believe it. She thought some of the seeds would be definitely damaged. It wasn't until she was done with the checkup that she realized that she had underestimated him. The herbs weren't just undamaged, but they were also of superior quality compared to the ones she had spent so much effort to grow. It had taken half the time than the ones she had grown. It meant that the person who had planted them was amazing at his work. This person knew much more about spirit herbs than anyone in the sect. It was far beyond her understanding. Do you know how to refine pills too, junior brother Jiang? Duanmu Yang asked. I don't know anything. Jiang Hao shook his head. If there's a chance, we can try to do it. Who knows? You might be talented in that field too, said Duanmu Yang. Jiang Hao shook his head. Refining pills sounded like it would take too much time and spirit stones. He was good at making talismans. They were just a bit difficult to sell, especially the 1,000 miles teleportation talisman. His talismans had improved significantly. It was just that he had been making fewer talismans lately. However, there were quite a few clone talismans. After that, they began to talk about business. Junior brother, your ability is far beyond what I could have anticipated. I hope you don't mind that I doubted you before. You're too polite, senior sister. Of course, I don't mind. Jiang Hao shook his head. I'm just not good at raising every spirit herb. Junior brother Jiang, are you free now? I have 700 seeds here. You can try planting them. Duanmu Yang could feel that this person had a special talent for planting spirit herbs. He would definitely be even more powerful in the future. Since he had dared to plant 200 seeds at once, he must be confident in his abilities. 700? Jiang Hao asked. How many bubbles would that spawn? 230. It was enough for him to advance. I can give you 3 times the spirit stones than it might normally take, Duanmu Yang said. 3 times more? Jiang Hao thought for a moment. It was a good deal. It was not good to ask for too much. Many things had to go through the sect for approval. If his method was discovered, they might want to know. She sent over the seeds after a few more days. The seeds were from 7 different spirit herbs. He spent 7 days appraising them all. 3 of them could sprout in half a year, and 4 others would only take 4 months. The cost of growing them was not small. It would cost him about 50,000 spirit stones. He hoped she would give him more than that. He still had 400,000 spirit stones. Even if he added the seeds senior sister Yi gave, he would only use up around 80,000 spirit stones. He would still have 320,000 spirit stones. There was no way he could spend it all. What he lacked was top-grade spirit herbs. Unfortunately, these people didn't have any. However, one thing was certain. If there were no accidents, he would be able to advance to the late stage of the Immortal Ascension platform by the end of the year. After that, he started planting the spirit herbs. It was July. The earliest batch could sprout by November. However, there was no rush to inform the seniors. He could tell them a month or 2 later. The next day, Jiang Hao looked at the peach tree that was beginning to bear fruit and appraised it. Immortality peach tree. It is related to the ancient divine tree, the immortality peach tree. It has a trace of the divine tree's characteristics, and the fruit is sweet and fragrant. If you leave a fruit on the tree and use 53,900 spirit stones to set up a spirit gathering array around it, you could activate a trace of the divine tree's characteristics and activate an incarnation. After 2 incarnations, it will become a complete divine tree. It's easier for the incarnation to succeed if it is placed near another divine item. 8 incarnations. It was almost over. The difference in spirit stones this time was not much. He would only need around 53,000. Looks like it will be the same as before. I wonder how many spirit stones will be needed for the last incarnation. There was nothing special about the first 8 times, and the fruits hadn't changed much. There wasn't even any spiritual energy left. Maybe the last incarnation would be impactful. It was definitely not ordinary. After the last incarnation, it might also be very difficult to replant it. It would take an extremely long time. It might not even give him bubbles after it turned into a divine tree. After deducting 50,000, he'll still have 270,000 left. The people he met were getting stronger and stronger, so he needed more spirit stones to get stronger too. He had changed. He wasn't like he used to be in the past. He didn't spend all his spirit stones on just one thing. The changes brought about by cultivation were best reflected in spirit stones. When will my peach tree transform into a divine tree? Said a sudden voice from behind. Jiang Hao was used to her appearing out of thin air. Greetings, senior. He turned around and greeted her respectfully. It was Hong Yuye. She was dressed entirely in red. It needs to go through incarnation twice more, said Jiang Hao. How many times has it been? Hong Yuye asked as she sat by the table. 7 times. Jiang Hao began to brew tea. He stole a glance at the spirit beast and realized that it had been hung up from a tree branch. It was unconscious, and its face was swollen. 7 incarnations without any changes? Hong Yuye asked softly. It has gotten sweeter, Jiang Hao said in a low voice. He was also very curious. He wondered why there wasn't a change even after so many incarnations. There was nothing else except for the fragrance. It was like an ordinary peach tree. Why is that happening? Hong Yuye asked. Maybe for a better incarnation, Jiang Hao said. If there's spiritual energy, Then the ripening will definitely be delayed. It won't be able to mature once a year like now. Even though there hasn't been much change, the incarnation that comes with it is always deliberate. Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao in silence. She looked at him for so long that he even finished brewing the tea. Not a single word of truth from you, but it's reasonable. Jiang Hao lowered his head and didn't say anything. What did you find? Hong Yuye asked. Jiang Hao told her about the gathering. Dragon Cave? Hong Yuye asked with interest. It'll take 2 or 3 years. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. Do you still remember what I told you? Hong Yuye picked up the teacup. I do remember. I need to investigate the origin of the dragon pearl. Jiang Hao nodded. You remember things very clearly when it has to do with Xiao Li, Hong Yuye said. Of course, senior. I take your instructions very seriously, said Jiang Hao. Hong Yuye chuckled and drank her tea. Jiang Hao poured himself a cup of tea. She didn't mention anything about the Shangguan clan or the fallen immortal clan. She didn't seem interested. He still had to pay attention to the traps set by the Great Thousand God sect. He looked at her. She looked disdainful. He didn't speak anymore. There's a fight at the mines? Hong Yuye asked. At present, it seems that it's in a stalemate and will remain that way for decades, said Jiang Hao. If Jiyu Changsheng comes out, will there be a big fight? Hong Yuye thought about it. Why do you think he went in? Because of the curse that brought disaster to the earth. Jiang Hao thought. Jiyu Changsheng had voluntarily gone in. Why did he intend to make a comeback? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 943, You Want to Be a Top Disciple. Jiang Hao didn't know whether Jiyu Changsheng was real or not. However, based on speculations, it was most likely not the real Jiyu Changsheng. He was a combination of the 100 Nights curse and the longevity curse. Such an existence was fatal to the world. It was a cursed tree, after all. It was self-evident what kind of impact it would have on the earth if it took root. No one had survived to compare it to Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl to see which one was more dangerous. Ordinary curses were afraid of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, but the longevity cursed tree was not just a tree. It was also a person. Everyone was justifiably terrified of such a power. However, he was already handling the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, so he didn't care much. He couldn't use curses against a person who possessed the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, but there were countless other ways to kill. Jiyu Changsheng was too dangerous. If he didn't have any connection to Jiyu Jin, perhaps he wouldn't have to care. Sighing, Jiang Hao stopped thinking about it. After suppressing him, he would have more time. He could convince the other party to go to the blood pool to find Jiyu Jin. There would be a day when they would let go of their grudges. What's your cultivation realm now? Hong Yuye asked as she sipped her tea. Late stage of the Golden Core realm, said Jiang Hao. I think I might be able to break through to the peak of the Golden Core realm in a year or 2. Are you 40 now? Hong Yuye asked. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. Peak of Golden Core realm at 40. That's impressive, said Hong Yuye. How many people do you think in the Heavenly Note sect can advance faster than you? Many people. Many seniors are far better than me, said Jiang Hao. Junior brother Han was about the same as him. The other true disciples might be even stronger. The true disciples were young and full of potential. Every single one of them had killed their way up. Do you have any thoughts of becoming a top disciple? Asked Hong Yuye. It is every disciple's wish to make a name for themselves in the sect, said Jiang Hao. Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao and didn't speak for a long time. The top disciples are indeed impressive, said Hong Yuye and chuckled. When do you plan to compete? When my cultivation realm is sufficient, said Jiang Hao. In 1 or 2 years, junior brother Han might be able to advance to the late stage of the Golden Core realm. It had only been a few years since he had challenged him. At that time, he would advance to the peak of the Golden Core realm. He would be inches away from reaching the primordial spirit realm. When junior brother Han reached the late stage of the primordial spirit realm, he would be able to challenge the 10th-ranked top disciples. Since junior brother Han had the mountain river sword embryo, his future was limitless. Hong Yuye didn't ask any more questions. When the dragon cave appears, you have to be prepared to enter. Jiang Hao nodded. He hesitated. Do you have any advice regarding the dragon pearl, senior? Hong Yuye glanced at him and didn't say anything. After thinking for a moment, Jiang Hao decided to wait and see. If it was safe, he might take Xiao Li there. If not, he wouldn't. The 9 nether would stay with Xiao Li, just in case. After that, Hong Yuye left. Jiang Hao heaved a sigh of relief. He began to study the nameless manual. He was going out, so he needed to improve himself as much as possible. At that moment, the spirit beast wailed. Jiang Hao ignored it. As time passed, the number of people in the sect increased. Some had recovered from their injuries, while others had come out of seclusion. The number of people in the spirit herb garden also increased. Jiang Hao was teaching everyone cultivation again. It benefited some lifeblood refinement and the foundation establishment realm cultivators. However, his main target was Cheng Chou. He explained only the things that would help him. Some of his juniors with higher cultivation realms asked for more explanation, but Jiang Hao shook his head. They felt a little disappointed, but they didn't say anything. Many people left a portion of their blood as payment. It was as if it was a transaction. Now, everyone knew that Jiang Hao was no longer hiding the fact that he practiced the blood wish path. Some people found it hard to believe, while others felt that it was a pity. Some people felt smug because they already knew about it. It was as if they could see that he would be the next Chen Chen. Jiang Hao sealed the blood and placed it in a special storage treasure. Perhaps one day, this blood would be able to help him. 4 months later, around mid-November, Jiang Hao's spirit stones decreased by a lot. He stood in the courtyard and looked at the peach tree with a sigh. There weren't many peaches left on the tree. He was about to spend more than 50,000 spirit stones to achieve another incarnation. The first batch of harvest would arrive at the spiritual herb garden. There would be one today. However, before he went over, he wanted to see how many points he still needed. Lifeblood, 88-100, can be cultivated, cultivation, 90-100, can be cultivated, he needed 22 points. He was a little worried that there would be more than 200 bubbles this time. It would be a waste if he used them all to advance. The first batch would give him 26, and the second might give him 30. He was worried. Jiang Hao took a deep breath and headed toward the spirit herb garden with the spirit beast. Master, when do you think we should confirm the candidacy for the would-be mistress? The spirit beast walked along the river. Jiang Hao glanced at it and continued walking forward. The senior sister Xiao Li keeps talking about. Are you serious about her? Asked the spirit beast. Does she like spirit beasts? I don't know, Jiang Hao said. Master, I found someone who likes animals. Do you want to meet her? The spirit beast asked. Jiang Hao ignored it. It was useless even if he found someone like that. He wasn't a person with a steady life. Even if he hadn't met Hong Yuye, he wouldn't have considered it. He struggled to survive among the strong. Why would he drag anyone to do that with him? After a while, Jiang Hao arrived at the spirit herb garden and saw rows of blue bubbles. He was relieved. He was not in a hurry to go over to absorb the bubbles. He counted them carefully. There were a total of 25 bubbles. He approached carefully. When 22 bubbles merged into his body, his cultivation and lifeblood points reached 100. The 3 bubbles were extra, and he didn't want to waste it. I wonder if it will disappear tomorrow. He rarely got so many bubbles, so he was reluctant to see if it would still be there tomorrow. But he had no choice. After taking care of the spirit herbs, Jiang Hao returned to his courtyard. Without hesitation, he decided to advance to the next stage. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 944, the Demoness suddenly paying attention to the top disciple of the sect at 100 Flowers Lake. The November weather didn't bring any changes to the place. Hong Yuye sat in the pavilion as usual. It was as if she had always been here and had never left. Baiji looked at the sect master in a daze. She really didn't know what was on her mind. When the previous sect master had died, the Heavenly Note sect had been attacked by the surrounding demonic sects. It had almost fallen apart. In the end, the current sect master had taken up the position and led the disciples to war. After that, there were no more demonic sects in the vicinity who dared to attack them. The powerful individuals had turned their tails and become disciples of the Heavenly Note sect. The sect master had gone into seclusion. Baiji had thought that she needed to recuperate from her injuries and would take control of the Heavenly Note sect after coming out of seclusion. However, the sect master had no intention of taking back control. She didn't even care about it. Baiji occasionally asked her for advice on sect matters, but that was it. She could not figure it out. After she had become an immortal, Baiji realized just how terrifyingly powerful the sect master must be. "Is it news from the mines?" Hong Yuye asked. She was making tea for herself. "Yes." Baiji nodded. "Senior Kendo seems to be competing with an extremely powerful existence. It must be in that tree. They say that the tree is the longevity cursed tree. This tree itself is a person. I'm not sure why Kendo wants to fight this person. The matter is likely related to Baiju. We don't have any information about the longevity cursed tree. If necessary, we can ask around." Even if the Heavenly Note sect annexed the surrounding areas, their foundation was still not good enough. Hong Yuye nodded. Since the sect master wasn't interested, it meant the matter didn't concern their sect. There was no need to pay too much attention to it. It was enough if they had the general idea. "They might be here for a long time," Baiji said. "It's fine." Hong Yuye was silent for a moment. "You can try to ask him about cultivation problems. Perhaps it will be of help to you." "Yes, thank you, sect master." Baiji was delighted. Senior Kendo was far more powerful than them. If she could listen to him, she would learn a lot. Even branch masters could participate in the sermons and the first-ranked top disciple. "What's the cultivation of the first-ranked top disciple?" Hong Yuye asked. "Has already at the peak of the return to Void Realm," said Baiji. "What about the 10th? Hong Yuye asked again. "Early stage of the Soul Ascension Realm," Baiji said. "Has anyone challenged him lately?" Hong Yuye nodded. "Yes. Bai Yi of the 100 Bones Forest, but he failed," Baiji said. She didn't understand why the sect master would suddenly ask about the top disciples. "Let's talk about something else," Hong Yuye said. No one knew what she was thinking. After that, Baiji told her about Feng Hua and the Great Thousand God sect. They hadn't found Feng Hua's main body, and she didn't dare show herself. There's news that the Great Thousand God sect is very interested in the South and the Divine Soul. They have been meeting all kinds of people and taking on all kinds of missions. They were especially fond of the Divine Soul of the Holy Master of Heavenly Saint sect. We heard from some people in the Lawless Tower that there are some avatars of the Holy Master. Should we try to get in touch with them? Baiji wasn't sure if she should do it. Hong Yuye was silent for a moment and did not say anything. She let Baiji make her own decision. Baiji reported all sorts of things, including the issue with Jiang Hao. However, the sect master didn't seem interested. After she left, Baiji thought about Senior Kendo. She decided to consult with the branch master and the first-ranked disciple. That would be a first. If they agreed, they would choose a few people from each branch to listen to sermons from Senior Kendo. However, they had to ask Senior Kendo first. Whether he was willing to teach them would depend on his mood. At noon the next day, Jiang Hao woke up from his cultivation. Purple energy was flowing around his body, and the power around him shook the surroundings. It caused space to distort. Late stage of the Immortal Ascension platform, Jiang Hao heaved a sigh of relief. He wasn't surprised. After that, he extracted the remaining cultivation and lifeblood to refine his cultivation. In the evening, he looked at his interface. Lifeblood, 3100, cannot be cultivated, cultivation, 2-100, cannot be cultivated, I have to accumulate points again. He quickly went to the spirit herb garden to see if the 3 bubbles were still there. When he arrived, he found that the bubbles had already disappeared. If the bubbles weren't picked up immediately, they would just disappear. I wonder if purple and gold bubbles will be the same. Unfortunately, he would never know. He couldn't afford to fail. Jiang Hao tended to the spirit herbs. Half a month later, around early December, Jiang Hao absorbed another 28 bubbles. In another month and a half, 300 seeds would germinate. Only senior sister Yes spirit seeds were left. It would take a long time for him to advance further. Jiang Hao returned to his residence after explaining the issues with cultivation to the others in the spirit herb garden. He did it 4 times a month. However, there was an accident this time. There seemed to be news that the first top disciple was at the mines. This made Jiang Hao curious. He asked Cheng Chou to find out what was happening. Jiang Hao needed to make sure the peach tree incarnated successfully. In the courtyard, he looked at the 2 remaining fruits on the tree. He picked one and began to carve a formation around it. He arranged the 50,000 spirit stones around the formation. He activated it. The incarnation was happening. The spirit beast guarded the peach tree. It saw the tree burning for the whole night. "Master, the tree is burning. Aren't you going to tie me to it anymore?" asked the spirit beast. Jiang Hao didn't answer. The spirit beast no longer needed to be tied up. The power in its body bursts out occasionally. The next day, Jiang Hao came out of the room and found the spirit beast hanging under the eaves. That was strange. Was Hong Yuye here? However, he realized the spirit beast wasn't unconscious or bruised. "Master, I'm ready. We can start now." Jiang Hao was speechless. He ignored it and went straight to the peach tree and began searching through the ashes. He found a seed. Jiang Hao appraised it. Immortal peach tree seed, a seed of the immortality peach tree that carries spiritual energy. It is a seed nurtured from the core of an ancient divine tree's fruit. It has a trace of the divine tree's traits. After taking root, germinating, bearing fruit, and undergoing incarnation, it will become a divine tree. Water it with fresh water every day, and it will take root and sprout after a day. It's still the same as before. I wonder how long it'll take to become a divine tree. There was only one more incarnation left. Jiang Hao was curious about the conditions for the last incarnation. It definitely won't be like the other times. He could only wait for the results next year. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 945. The ones always looking for trouble. Looking at the seed in his hand, Jiang Hao didn't think too much about it. Instead, he placed it into the soil. Then, he watered it and waited for it to sprout. He was very curious about the final incarnation of the immortal peach tree. He hoped the final incarnation would change the divine tree. The incarnations didn't make the fruit special, but they did make it delicious. I wonder if it will fail. What will happen if it fails? Jiang Hao was doubtful. After that, he headed to the spirit herb garden. Seeing Jiang Hao walk out, the spirit beast immediately jumped down and chased after him. "Master, wait for me. Let's discuss this." The spirit beast was extremely fast. It had 3 rings. Its collar, the cosmic rings, and the ring he had given to it. Jiang Hao didn't pay attention to the spirit beast. Instead, he went to the spirit herb garden and asked Cheng Chou about the mines. Liu Xingchen had not been around lately, so there were many things that he did not know. He wondered if he was still looking for another remnant soul. "Senior brother Jiang," Cheng Chou said. "What's wrong?" Jiang Hao asked. At that moment, they were in the spirit field. Jiang Hao looked at the spirit herbs. He could call the senior sister over and ask her to sign for them soon. The remaining 300 spirit herbs were not urgent to plant. Didn't something happen at the mines? "I heard that all the top disciples and branch masters are there. I don't know what exactly is going on," Cheng Chou said. Jiang Hao thought for a moment. There was one possibility. Maybe I should ask for advice from Senior Kendo. What kind of existence was Senior Kendo? His cultivation realm was enough for the entire Heavenly Note sect to tremble before him. He naturally hoped that he would learn something from a senior like that. It would be of great benefit. So, they all went. Being a top disciple was indeed not bad, but it was also quite troublesome. If he couldn't ask any direct questions there, he could always ask Hong Yuye and Senior Dan Yuan. So far, he had not encountered any problems with his cultivation. He had questions about immortals, but he did not understand them. Senior Dan Yuan had explained cultivation issues to Zhong very simply. Unfortunately, junior brother Han isn't here. Perhaps he's the one who should be asked to go. Kendo was undoubtedly a sword cultivator, and junior brother Han had already unknowingly embarked on the path of sword cultivation. At the mines, the place that should have been where the miners gathered was covered by sword intent. They were divided into 20 parts. Ku Wu Chang was on his guard. This senior's strength was unbelievable. You can ask questions now. And don't worry. Other than me, no one can hear what you ask me, Kendo said. Ku Wu Chang hesitated for a moment. I would like to ask you about sword cultivation, Senior. How do I help a golden core realm cultivator on a path to sword cultivation? Huh? Kendo was surprised. Who are you asking for? I have a disciple. We only recently learned that he has the talent for sword cultivation, but our sect doesn't have any sword cultivators. It's easy to teach him simple things, but it's very difficult to pave a path for him further into the world of sword cultivation, said Ku Wu Chang. And you're willing to help your disciple? Kendo smiled. I didn't know there were people like you in demonic sects. I cannot let such a promising talent go to waste, that's all, said Ku Wu Chang. Chem. It's easy. I can either teach you the sword's way for a year or him. You choose. Do you want me to teach you so you can teach him, or do you want me to teach him directly? Asked Kendo. He went out. We cannot find him right now, said Ku Wu Chang. Oh. Kendo was a little regretful. But I'm still curious. If he were here, what would you have chosen? I don't know. Ku Wu Chang was silent for a moment and shook his head. Kendo laughed and began to teach him the way of the sword. The pinnacle of sword cultivation is the will. If you want to go far, you can't be rigidly bound by rules. Your will comes first, and then the sword's will. Ku Wu Chang's mind was filled with boundless knowledge. It made him feel a little bitter. At night, when everyone withdrew, they found that Ku Wu Chang was still there. This puzzled everyone. He needs to stay here for a year, so you don't have to wait for him, said Kendo kindly. Everyone was surprised. They didn't understand why Ku Wu Chang had to stay here for a year. However, they did not ask further. Everyone's learning process was different. Baiji thought for a moment and said, Senior, are you free next year? Are you guys coming back next year too? Kendo shook his head. There's no need for that. You guys won't be able to digest what I've taught you in a year. Senior, you've misunderstood. I was hoping to have a group of disciples listen to your lectures, said Baiji respectfully. Oh. Kendo thought for a moment. That's all right, then. I'm bored anyway. It's good to find something to do. There'll always be some people who'll find new trouble. Baiji was speechless. She didn't quite understand why this senior would say such a thing. However, it reminded her of Xiao Li and Jiang Hao. They were always in some sort of trouble. One was always in trouble, and the other was simply unteachable. She could send them here to learn too. It wasn't that they were special in the sect. It was simply because their names stuck with her. Oh right. I taught 2 people before. I'd like to meet them if it's okay, said Kendo. Baiji and the others were surprised. Senior Kendo met others from the Heavenly Note sect before. Jiang Hao didn't know anything about the mines. He did not think that this matter had anything to do with him. He just wanted to increase his cultivation realm as soon as possible. When the Dragon Cave appeared or Shangguan Qingsu returned, he wanted to be ready. Fortunately, the Shangguan clan didn't have an existence at the Immortal Ascension platform. Even if they used special treasures to reach it, they wouldn't be able to use it as they pleased. As long as he made it to the peak of the Immortal Ascension platform, he would be able to face the Shangguan clan. After returning to his house, Jiang Hao began to study the Nameless Manual while waiting for the next day. When the sun set, the stars lit up the sky. A red light jumped out of the forest. The morning sun shone brightly in the courtyard. Jiang Hao walked to the immortal peach tree. A tiny sapling came into view, and beside it was a purple bubble. Divine Power Fragment +1, Jiang Hao looked at his interface. Name, Jiang Hao, age, 40, cultivation realm, late stage of the Immortal Ascension platform, cultivation method, Heavenly Sound 100 revolutions, Hongmeng Heart Sutra, divine ability, 9 revolutions death substitution, unique, daily appraisal, clear and pure heart, reappearance of hidden spirit, divine might, revival of withered tree, heavenly cauldron, indestructible Vaja, lifeblood, 17-100, can be cultivated, cultivation, 18-100, can be cultivated, divine power, 3/3, can be obtained. He could get another divine ability. He wondered what it would be this time. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.